Hello and welcome to Dekho Apna Desh, one of the initiative of Ministry of Tourism to highlight the less visited places and to promote the lesser known destinations. We are moving forward and we are getting new and new experts and new destinations to promote and to discuss and let the viewers know about the destinations and their experience. So in this winter, we have chosen the very special episode that is on trekking in winter because in winter season, India has lot of mountains. We have 73% of Himalayas with us, and that Himalayas gives us a biggest trekking route and the marvelous experience of traveling in winter in these Himalaya, enjoying the snow, enjoying the snowfall, and lot more activities. So to discuss more, we have invited today from the uh, India Hikes. The India Hikes is an organization which is working for the trekking and taking the tourists to these mountainous regions and other regions also. So they are working throughout the year. The company is based in Bangalore, and from there they take the groups and they have local offices in Uttarakhand and might be in other states also. So discuss more about it. I would like to invite Miss Lakshmi Selvakumaram, who is working with this India Hikes, and she will explain more how the treks goes on and how she works with the tourist group, and she will give the more insight about the trekking in winter. So I invite Miss Lakshmi to explain. Miss Lakshmi.
Thank you so much, sir. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to give a webinar on trekking in winter. I think trekking in winter is one of the best times to experience Himalayas, especially experience Himalayas in snow. And you can experience the forest in its most quietest time, and it's also very popular for the best sunrises and best sunsets. So trekking in winter is one of the best times to actually come and do treks. So I thought today let me talk about where do treks happen in winter, and how can you plan a trek to do in winter. Before I talk about what treks you can do, I want to start by talking a little bit about the history of trekking in winter, especially in India. Almost, I think, 15 years ago, trekking in winter, was it even possible, was something that most people did not know. In fact, I think trekking in Indian Himalayas was not even that popular or that accessible to all of us as it is today. And when India Hike started, we started by exploring treks in the most popular times trekking was done in India, which was actually in the months of summer and autumn. That meant doing treks in May, June, at the most July, and then September and October. So if you look at an year, you're looking at trekking only in 5 months in a year. And that was how trekking was taught about, and that was how trekking was done almost like 12, 15 years ago. And that comes from a very particular reason. The reason being that most of the treks that was explored and documented and that was most popular were all these high altitude treks, which goes up to 15,000 feet, 16,000 feet, and even beyond 15, 16,000 feet. Like, for example, Rupkund here. Then you have Rupin Pass in Himachal. Again, another beautiful photo from Rupin Pass in Himachal Pradesh. And even trekking in Kashmir. All of these regions touch somewhere an altitude of around 14,000 feet, 15,000 feet. And in Kashmir, even if the altitude is very low, in the months outside summer and autumn, you will see that these treks are extremely inaccessible, because the amount of snow that we would see on these treks was just so high. It was very difficult for anyone to go first and camp, because you need to find camping spots, which was very difficult. Second, you could not find water sources. Most of these sources are frozen, and you will have to melt snow to actually get water to drink in these regions, which makes it very difficult for anyone to go during do a trek. You really needed to be adventurous to do treks in these regions, especially outside the summer and autumn months. Not just that, even the safety was a very big risk for doing treks in these areas outside the summer and autumn months. So, as an organization, when India Hike started, we started by trekking in the months of summer and autumn. We were running treks like Rupkund, we were running treks like Rupin Pass, uh, and then we were thinking, is are these the only months we can have Indians trekking in our Indian Himalayas? Are there any possibility that we can explore really beautiful treks in the Indian Himalayas and make it possible for us to run these treks in the winter months? Because winter is the beautiful months where you actually can experience snow, but unfortunately, these treks were not feasible. They were not conducive enough to do these treks. So that was the biggest challenge at India Hikes we had, where we needed to understand, how do we do this? How do we solve this problem? And that is when I want to take you back to a little of a backstory, which is from India Hikes, which relates to our founders, Mr. Arjun Majumdar and Sandhya UC, is that they were looking out for a trek to do in winter. And one of the realizations that they had was that trying to do a trek like Roopkund or Rupin Pass, which goes up till like 15,000 feet or 16,000 feet, and trying to do this in winter, so that is in the months of December or January or February, was not the right approach to do a trek, because it was very difficult first to make trails. You will have to kind of cut through the snow if you really wanted to go from one campsite to another campsite. So even if you do that and you reach a campsite, these are long distances, by the way. I think I'm talking about almost doing 8 kilometers of trek every day. And you reach this location and you're camping and you don't have enough water around because all the water sources are frozen. Now, then we realized, how do we create a trek? Maybe these are not the right treks to do in winter. Maybe there are other treks, maybe lower altitude treks. Perhaps those are the right places that we can go about doing a trek in winter. That thought struck our founder Arjun Majumdar, and he got to speak with one of our staff who lives in this region called Sankri. Sankri right now is very popular. I think it's very popular as the base camp for Kedarkantha trek, and the legacy of the Kedarkantha trek kind of comes back to this story. So I'll just dive a little deeper. So when our founder spoke to our staff over there, his name is Raj Mohan. He had a conversation with Mr. Raj Mohan and he asked, you have spoken to me about this trek called Kedarkantha earlier, which is a trek that goes up till the 12,500 feet, where it reaches a summit. And from the summit, you have a temple and then you come back. And the villages of this region actually regularly trek up there and come back. It's in fact a 1 day trek for them. They do it within like 8 hours. And Arjun sir was thinking, having this conversation with Mr. Raj Mohan, he was asking, is it possible to do this trek in winter? And immediately Mr. Raj Mohan was like, are you being very serious? Because this trek is not so very easy to do in winter. Even none of us go do this trek in winter because it's very difficult to walk through all the snow, find campsites, and make it safe for trekkers to do this trek and come back. But then they got into discussing it in a lot more detail, and one of the things that they realized was maybe they can find these smaller campsites along the way where they have these beautiful clearings in the Kedarkanta trek where you might be able to camp in snow. And doing that, you might be able to find water sources as well because you camp right next to a lake called Judaka Talab. Then you camp next to something called as Kedarkanta Base, Talketra, which also has a water source from the stream coming down. Then they realized maybe it is possible to find 2 or 3 camping spots that we can actually do a full-fledged trek in winter. And they thought maybe this is workable. And we have skilled people who can make way during snowfall so that we can make sure that we have enough trail well set to go from one campsite to another. And that started the thought of having a full Kedarkanta exploration in 2010. And so in 2010, a team of 18 trekkers went on this trek, trying to do this trek in this winter snow. And you can actually see them trying to camp at Kedarkanta base. You can even see the tents on the right hand side. You see a kitchen tent on the left hand side, and you can actually see the summit up top. This is a beautiful trek. You can do it in any month of the year, but doing it in winter in this setting was something that really blew the minds of the trekkers who did this trek, who went on this exploration, and they were able to complete it successfully. Of course, there were a lot of challenges in the sense that they needed to make way through the trails, but we had very good technical staff who were very good at icecraft, paving the way all the way till the summit. In fact, where they had to navigate through Vergla at some points, which is like frozen water, which can be very slippery. But our safety practices, everything put together, they were very easily able to go till the summit, come back in a span of 6 days. And then that changed how we felt about trekking in winter, because until then, as I already mentioned, trekking in winter, especially in treks like Rupkund or Rupin Pass, was not possible. So what used to happen in the upper regions like Himachal, Uttarakhand, was that they used to be closed for the entire Indian world or for the outside world during this time. Hotels would not run, restaurants would not run, and even if anybody wanted to kind of go do trekking, it would be basically a day hike. So they'll come to a point like Shimla, and then from there they would go on a day hike, come back to that same point, go to another point, come back to the same point. It was not a proper trek where you're actually camping in the wilderness. Camping in the wilderness in snow was not something that was thought of, and somehow we were able to do that when with the Kedarkanta exploration. So I think that group going and coming back and doing it successfully and having getting that experience of experiencing winter, I think really gave us the confidence that this is something that Indian trekkers would love to do. And they would really get to experience something like what we go out of our country to experience, like something like Switzerland, or going to a European country to experience snow. You can actually do that in our own country, in our own backyard, in our own Himalayas. And I think that thought of it was something that really brought about winter trekking in India. So we launched more groups in winter the next year, and over the course of time, 3 years of continuously talking about trekking in winter, Kedarkanta became one of the most popular treks in India. In fact, if I have to talk about it, these last couple of years, the number of people who actually trek in winter are a lot more than the number of trekkers who actually trek in the other months like summer or autumn. So even this trek opened up the possibility of trekking being done to altitude of 12,000, 12,500, and not really these very big treks. And what that made is that it made more people, average people like you, me, people who don't necessarily have the skill set to tackle very big expeditions, to come and experience Himalayas and trekking in Himalayas and wilderness in Himalayas. So I think that's one of the biggest legacies that came out of this entire winter exploration of Kedarkantha. And this is how it looks like. I think I was recently doing a trek in Kedarkantha just 2 weeks ago, and I actually crossed this bridge, and this was one of the most beautiful moments where you kind of experience the entire forest in fully covered in snow, everything covered in this white carpet, and you're walking through it, and you just get to experience the most beautiful settings the winter can provide. And that is what winter trekking brought about, a sense of adventure while getting to do it safely, while not having to go to very high altitude, and still be able to experience Himalayas and the beautiful views of Himalayas, the beautiful views of the upper Himalayan mountains very, very easily. Um, One of the other things after Kedarkantha we did was also to kind of explore another trek in Ladakh, which is called as the Chadar trek, which is also extremely popular right now amongst the Indian trekkers. This is very different from a trek like Kedarkantha in the sense that this entire trek is in the frozen lake. So you're actually walking and trekking on the frozen lake. You're camping on the frozen lake, and that's one of the most adventurous experience you can ever have, where you're walking through the valley and trekking over the frozen river, and you just look down and you can actually see and feel that you're walking on this thick ice. And one of the things that India Hikes was able to do is redesign this entire trek, because Chadar trek, when about 12 years ago, was a very, very popular trek amongst foreigners. It was only foreigners who would come and do this trek, and this trek was very, very long. It was almost like a 14-day trek and coming back. And we thought, if we really wanted Indians to trek, we needed to redesign this trek. So we went ahead and said, it is possible to still get the same experience of trekking in Chadar, but we can do it in a 6-day trek rather than this 14-day trek, which makes it very difficult for many people to trek on. And then we redesigned the entire itinerary to fit within a 6-day and opened it up for trekkers, and trekkers again loved it. The idea of walking on ice, trekking on ice, was something very unique to Indian trekkers, and they really enjoyed the adventure that came with it. Of course, it was freezing cold, but I think that just added to what that experience added to that entire group of trekkers who went on the trek. And during this time is when we realized that if we really wanted more people to trek in winter, one of the challenges that we needed to solve was actually identifying how to make it safe for trekkers to walk on ice and walk on snow. Because more and more, as we people keep trekking on trails, the trails get compacted. As they get compacted and as sun falls on it, they actually become ice. So it becomes very difficult for trekkers to walk on this ice, and there is very high risk of people slipping and falling and injuring themselves. So, and we realized that trekking in winter cannot be safe, cannot grow if we do not solve this problem of slipping and falling. So after a lot of research, we researched how do other people in other countries live in these similar winter conditions, and we realized that they use something called as microspikes. And we thought, okay, if that works for them in that country and that setting, maybe it might work for our own needs on our trek. So we got these micro spikes and we tested it on our treks, and you can see our founder actually standing on Juda Katalab, and you can see that it really holds well when you're actually standing on frozen ice. it gives you the grip, it doesn't let you slip and fall. And we thought, here we have a solution that can really change how trekking can be done in winter. So we tried this in Chadar Trek, we tried again in our Kedarkanda Trek, and we realized that it gave a lot of safety, a lot of sense of safety, and it immediately reduced the risk that the trekkers were feeling when they were going on a trek in winter. And so we thought this again will change how trekking is done, especially in winter. And all of these little innovations, be it with regards to finding new trails, be it with regards to redesigning new trails, or making sure that we have these innovations that can make trekking more safe, we were able to make trekking in winter lot and lot more accessible. Now, after these treks have started and they have gotten popular, we even realized that more and more Indians wanted to trek in winter. They wanted to experience snow. They wanted to experience the quietness of the forest in winter, the best sunsets, the best sunrises. And we realized that we need to have more of these treks open in India, and we went on and explored quite many treks in winter that are right now open and available for trekkers to trek in. And I wanted to now take the opportunity to share with you few of these treks, these beautiful winter treks that you should try and trek in, especially in the month of Jan and in the month of February. People always assume that winter actually is in December, but it's actually not the case. The biggest snow happens during mostly the end of December. So the best experience of trekking in snow, trekking in winter, camping in snow, experiencing snowfall, everything happens actually in the month of January and in the month of February. So if you are planning to go on a trek in winter and you really want to experience winter, January and February are the best months to do treks in winter. So I really hope this conversation and getting to hear me share these stories helps you plan a trek in this January month and in the February month. So without further ado, I'll just switch to talking about the other treks that we have. The first other trek that we have is Dhirital Chandrashila. This is a trek that is that kind of connects. It starts from Sari, which is in near Ukimat, which is in Rudraprayag district, and it's a beautiful trek that connects Dhirital Lake, and from there it kind of goes through this very dense forest and kind of connects to Chandrashila from the Tungnath side. So if you have somebody who have visited Tungnath temple, the Chandrashila peak is just above the Tungnath temple, and this entire trek is immersed with so many mythological stories of this region of the Pandavas and Mahabharata. It's a beautiful trek to kind of learn more about our own culture, heritage, as well as to experience such beautiful forests that happens in these in that you can find in these treks. In fact, this is one of our most popular rodo treks, and as you can see here, if you trek in the month of February, you will be lucky to see these beautiful rhodos starting to bloom, and you will be able to experience the contrast of these beautiful flowers along with the white snow and the rich green forest. And I think that's something that will always stay in your mind. Dirtal Chandrashila is also very popular for the kind of views you get of the higher Himalayan range. You get to see Chokamba, you get to see Gangotri, you get to see so many of our peaks in the upper Himalayan region from the Dhiratal summit. And when you go there and you sit in during sunrise and you wait for the sun to come and hit on these mountain views, I'm guaranteeing and telling you this is something that will take you out of the world, and it is a must to experience in anyone's life. So Dirtal Chandrashila is one of the most beautiful treks to do in the month of January and February to experience winter, snow, and the beautiful views of the Himalayas. Another trek that is very close to my heart personally is the Daira Bugyal. So Daira Bugyal is a trek that starts from Raital. It's in Uttarkashi region of Uttarakhand, and again, I think this trek is very very popular for the forest. It also has smaller lakes around the trek. So you have the Gui Lake where you can experience the frozen lake, and we have had children and families slide and play in the frozen lake, especially in the months of winter. Similarly, we also have a Barnala Lake on the other side, again frozen completely during winter, and invites you to kind of come and slide over and have fun during the winter season. Not just that, you walk through these rich oak forests that are covered in snow, and you get to camp in the midst of these forests inside the snow. That's one of the most unique experiences of Daira Bugyal. And the best part of Daira Bugyal is the summit, where you get to walk on these undulating meadows, endless meadows, with the kind of views of the Gangotri range. You see John Lee here, Swargarohini here, Bandapooch here, the kind of views that accompany you as you walk along the Daira Bugyal. I think it's one of the best experiences one could ever have, and to get to do it when it is in winter in the snow, it's just like a cherry on the top. So that's another beautiful trek that is there in winter to do. And another trek that we have is Kuari Pass. This is a trek that is in near Joshimath. So you actually start this trek, or you can end this trek from Oli, which is a very popular ski resort as well. And you will again be mesmerized by the views of Kamet. You will get to see Nanda Devi. You are actually closely trekking very close to the Nanda Devi biosphere sanctuary, and you will see the different um, Dolagiri you will see, and you will see different aspects of Nanda Devi, different sides of Nanda Devi as you keep trekking along. The best part of Kuari Pass again is the beautiful forests of Tali, Chitrakanta, and also the ridge walk. So as a Kuari Pass trek, you climb up and you hit a ridge, and you continue to walk on the ridge where you can see the entire Himalayan range so up close. It really brings you very close to Nanda Devi. I think I've had trekkers who go there, see Nanda Devi for the very first time, and they have tears in their eyes. It's beautiful experience to have. Not just that, I think this trek has everything. It has the dense forest, it has beautiful clearings, these ridge walk from where you can get these beautiful views of the upper Himalayas, and also Gorsan Bugyal, which is a big meadow again, undulating meadow, where you again get to see the Nanda Devi as you keep walking along Gorsan Bugyal. So I think the kind of experience you get to have in Kuari Pass again is very unparalleled. As I mentioned, the forests of Kuari Pass are very beautiful. It almost makes you feel like you are in some wonderland, especially when you have snow. And I think this photo kind of perfectly captures why I say that. It's very inviting. There is this very beautiful mystery about these forests that is very hard to kind of escape when you walk along with it. So that's another beautiful trek in Uttarakhand that you can explore during, or you can do during winter. And another trek in winter that you can do is Brahmatar. This is a trek that starts from this village called Lohaja, which is also a very popular starting point for the Rupkund trek. Of course, we don't do the Rupkund trek now, but instead you have the Brahmatal trek, from where you can enjoy the similar views of the upper Himalayan region. And not just that, while you're on the Brahmatal trek, you also can get to see the entire Rupkund Trail and the legacy of the Rupkund Trail, and that is something that's very, very beautiful to experience on this trek. And most importantly, one of the best aspects of doing Brahmatal is to get to see Trishul, Mount Trishul, very, very close to us, especially when you are reaching the Jandi top or the Brahmatal top. The kind of closeness that you feel to Mount Trishul, I don't think you will get it anywhere else. And again, it's a trek that is most beautiful in winter. It's a trek again where you get to walk on the ridge for quite long, and walking on the ridge and getting to experience the panoramic view of the Himalayas is something that is to die for. And not just that, you also get to camp right next to this Brahmatal lake, which of course gets frozen in the month of Jan and Feb, but it's a beautiful experience nevertheless. Um, the next trek is it's the trek that's just next to Brahmatal trek, which is the Alibedni Bugyal, which is again, it starts from Lohajan. Again, you trek to these beautiful forests. You camp at Bedni. You get to go to Bedni. You don't camp at Bedni, but you get to go to Bedni, explore Bedni top. You also get to see Ali Bugyal. Ali Bugyal and the Bedni Bugyal are kind of right next to each other, and the expanse they cover is so big. And while you're walking on it, you actually get to see Trishul, which is what you see in this picture, so up close. And I think you almost feel like you're walking up to heaven when you're walking on this stretch, and there's nothing that you can compare to the feeling of doing this trek, especially in winter. Similarly, in winter, we trek till Bedni and Bedni Bugyal, and you experience Bedni Bugyal very close. And that's one of the beautiful aspects of doing this trek, especially in winter. If you feel okay, this is too much snow for me, or I feel like yes, camping is good, but I also want to experience a very different culture, a different side of Indian trekking or Indian Himalayas in winter, then you have our Sandakfu trek, which is in West Bengal, and you get to see. This is a photo from Al, where you can actually see the entire clouds right beneath you, both during sunset and sunrise. You will see the sun setting behind the curtain of this entire carpet of clouds, and you get to see the sunrise from this carpet of clouds. And there is nothing much more magical than actually getting to witness this from Al. Beautiful trek, very long trek though. Of all the treks that I have mentioned, this would be one of the most challenging treks to do. So if you're looking for a little bit more of a challenging trek in winter, Sandakfu is definitely one of them, because each day you will be trekking for almost 10 kilometers, beautiful stretches, and you will also kind of get to experience the Nepal culture of trekking, where you trek and you stay in tea houses rather than camping. And that's one of the most unique experiences of Sandakfu, because this trek is right at the border of India and Nepal. So you actually get the best of both worlds. You get to experience Nepali culture, Nepali food during this trek, and you also get to experience the Nepal style of trekking while also enjoying the Indian culture of trekking as well. So it's a very beautiful mix. And you get to do this without even crossing the border. And I think that's one of the most unique experiences that you get in Sandak. Again, very beautiful trek to do in the months of December, Jan, and February, and you will not have so much snow as you would experience in Uttarakhand. This also is a trek where you get to see the top or the most four highest peaks of the world. You get to see the entire Kanchenjunga massive. You can see here the sleeping Buddha. Outside that, you can also see Mount Everest. You get Choyu. So you actually get to see the top highest four peaks, 8,000-meter peaks from this trek, and that's one of the again biggest highlight of this trek. Must do in winter. Last, if you feel I don't want to trek or experience snow, but I really want to experience a very different ecosystem in winter. Then you have the Chhattisgarh jungle trek. I personally was there exploring this trek, and this trek vividly brought me memories of the Jungle Book. You don't get to see the animals. Very rarely you will get to see the animals, but you will see their presence all around you. You will get to see the footprints of leopards. You will get to see bear footprints. You will get to see sometimes elephant footprints, and they would be fresh, meaning they were just there maybe half an hour or 1 hour before, and that is Chhattisgarh jungle trek for you. Here you get to experience trekking through river. You get to experience trekking through these beautiful sal forest, and you also get to explore these beautiful caves that are quite long in this region. Small trek, a 4 day trek, but I think it really gives you an idea of what trekking in our own Indian forests can look like. And I think that's one of the best highlights of doing this trek. Um, I was lucky when I was doing the exploration. We just randomly, while we were traveling from one spot to another, we actually got to see a bear. But I think it's not going to be so easy to spot them. But I think if you do spot them, I think you are very, very lucky. So I think that's one of the last treks that you can get to do in winter in India. So with that, I think I've kind of covered most of the treks that we run in winter in India. As you can see, most of these treks go up to like 12,000 to 12,500 feet, except for Chhattisgarh trek, which don't climb too much, but it's one of the most beautiful treks to do. Outside that, why do you have to do a trek in winter? It's for these. You get to kind of experience what it means to trek in snow, what it means to camp in snow. This is one of our trek leaders having kind of created a snow shelter, and getting to experience this is very unique, especially in India where we don't actually get snow outside Himalayas. You also kind of get the adventure of opening new trails, walking on these carpeted snow, and getting to experience winter. Snowfall, nothing like it, anything more magical like this. The joy of experiencing this is something very, very unique to our Indian Himalayas. Yeah, and I hope you will all get to experience winter in trekking in winter, especially trekking in winter. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, well, Lakshmi, you presented the trekking in winter very well, and I could learn a lot about the trekking places, especially in Uttarakhand. And at last, you shown the jungle trekking also. So that is also an important part of this. But
Yes.
I have a few query. You can say how
Yes.
you coordinate with the tourist regarding the safety and security. And
Yes.
another point is the during the winters the weather is extremely cold. So how you manage this uh, winter?
Thank you so much for this question, sir. So, in winter, I will start by talking about how do you manage the cold. So, one of the things that we very strongly talk to our trekkers about is the layering. Layering is the best way we can manage these extreme temperatures. And one of the things that we tell our trekkers is to get what kind of layers. So, you will, for a winter trek, you will at least need 5 different layers. Getting you, and you must get that with you on the trek. The first layer is your thermals, inner thermals. You must have a thermals for the top, you must also have a thermals for the bottom, and outside that you should also have two so then comes your shirt, dry fit shirt or a trekking shirt which you will wear during the trek. Then that's the second layer. Then comes the third layer, which is a fleece jacket that you will wear. And on fourth, you will have another fleece jacket, a little bigger one. And then the fifth is a padded jacket, or a down jacket. If you have these five layers always with you, that will take care of keeping or retaining your body heat for the entire day very, very easily. Outside that, you must also carry with you gloves, especially fleece lined gloves for your hands. You should also have a balaclava or the winter cap on top for your top, muzzle for your neck, as well as thick woolen socks for your feet. If you are carrying all of this with you, this is the first level of first way how you can keep yourself warm on the trek. Outside this, at India Hikes, we will provide with two sleeping bags during this time, each kind of to handle minus 10 degrees Celsius. So having those two layers of sleeping bags also gives you added warmth, especially during winter. Then comes our tents, which are equipped to handle the temperatures of the winter and even the snowfall. It withstands the wind, it withstands the snowfall. All of that put together, you can stay very warm and cozy inside your sleeping bag. So this is one of the ways we make sure that all our trekkers stay quite warm during trekking in winter. Outside that, to ensure safety, we provide, as I mentioned, micro spikes to make sure that we trek. While we trek, we don't slip and fall. We also provide gaiters, which helps to kind of keep the feet and the shoes dry during trekking in the snow. Outside that, we also are carrying ice axe. We are carrying our high altitude medical kit, oxygen cylinder, all of this with us at all times, just to ensure that if there is any possibility of risk, we are there to ensure that the risk is mitigated and taken care of. So these are the ways in which we provide safety as well as keep our trekkers warm. Outside that, most of these trails are where we make sure that we continue to make well marked trails during as soon as there is fresh snow, just so that we make sure that trekkers don't get lost, or trekkers don't find it difficult to climb up till the summit and come back. So these are some of the measures that we take to make sure that this is taken care of.
Yeah, very good. So actually, because the trekkers, the tourists, they are not the expert. They are not expert in trekking in the mountains or in the snow. So certainly, you might be taking care of them, and you might have the plan, like if in case of emergency or if anything means any uh, untoward incidents, or if somebody is feeling sick, so you might have these arrangements for them so that they will feel safe and secure and they will enjoy this trekking. So that was very nice. So I would like to get the experience of Dr. Ajay Singh, if he has anything to share
Sir,
regarding the trekking in winter.
it is a really wonderful experience, and especially the Himalaya range is, the havoc during the winter. I to the start with Lakshmi Puja during this winter, and it's always a wonderful experience. Wonderful. People are looking towards Europe and this and that, but no, everything is here. Everything is in our country. Just you contact the right person, the right people. Yeah, I want to tell you the viewers, the Lakshmi ji, he is a mechanical engineer, she is a mechanical engineer, and she is in this the tourism field. See, people are joining tourism industry, and now they are giving the world class in our country at nation. Join
Yeah,
with
that
language.
is great. That is great. Actually, your voice is breaking, little disturbing. So that is a very great thing to know that Lakshmi is mechanical engineer and she has taken this adventurous field to work with, and certainly she is promoting tourism in the field of adventure and mountains. So further, I would like to share my experience because I also visited the mountains. I visited Gulmarg, and we have Ministry of Tourism have one of the institute, that is Indian Institute of Skiing and Mountaineering. So that institute gives training to the interested persons and even the school children also, and they are training the trainers also. So they also do all the things, and I visited that place, and the trekking and the snowing, this skiing and all that I have seen, that was very marvelous. There, when we open the window, we can see the paradise, and really that looks that we are at a very different place. So that is really a wonderful experience. Nobody can experience this, that sitting at home. So certainly we need to visit all these places. We need to trek and we need to learn more about it. And you mentioned about many uh, these trekking routes in Uttarakhand, like Kuari Pass and others, and like in this eastern Himalayas, like Sikkim and Darjeeling. So all these places combined together and makes a wonderful destination for trekking, for winter experience, for snow watching. And I will tell you that when we visited these places, in Gulmarg or in Sikkim, we could find that we could see the tourists enjoying the snow, and even the foreign tourists. They were telling that we have visited New Zealand also, Switzerland also, but we could not find this kind of snow available in our region. And one greater thing you mentioned, that the thick snow we find in February and March. So
Yes.
initial winter we get the snow starts settling, and it gets thicker and thicker, and that we the most thicker and the most enjoyable we get in February and March. So fortunately I visited Gulmarg in February, and really I was uh, it was amazing. I was splendid to see this uh, bed of snow, and that the upper part where we have this lift, and there all the uh, this skiing activities are happening. That was really a wonderful experience, and you can drive on the snow vehicles and many activities, snow scooters and all, very easy to drive, and any tourist within hours I could do some skiing. So that is how we can learn and uh, enjoy the place. So it is a very marvelous experience, very enjoyable thing. Nothing to feel that yeah it is a winter or this thing. When we are in snow, of course we have to have the full clothing, but there you can enjoy it. There is nothing like that. We can feel a cold or anything, any kind of thing. So you might have seen the tourists enjoying the playing with the snow. So they are actually the things are really pleasurable, and everything is marvelous. So I'd like to thank Lakshmi for
Thank you, sir.
bringing this insight to us, and your team, and this India hikes and all. So this really your efforts will certainly bring more and more tourists for the trekking, and we will learn more and more about the new destinations of trekking, and especially the unexplored Himalayas, and of course the paradise on earth, what we call this Kashmir and Ladakh area. So very wonderful session,
Thank you,
and
sir.
if any question, we can have a question. Anyone like to have question from Lakshmi? So if there is no question, I think we can conclude the session. Once again, I thank Lakshmi, the NEGD team, Dr. Ajay Singh, and others, and most importantly, the participants and the viewers who see us and watch us on the YouTube channels available. All our previous episodes are also available on this YouTube channels. And thank you for all your support and your all the insights. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Thanks. We don't forget to come at 11 a.m. same time on Stellar Blood. Make it India is always there from that destination. destination. So this time you enjoyed the Lakshmi Ji. Next we are for you to find 11 of Saturday. Thank you. Thank you the team. Thank you, MOT. Thank you, Sumita. Thanks all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.